Find the joy, find the gratitude, find the appreciation. And the more you do it, the more you go all in on elevating your frequency simply by finding the things in your life that mean something positive to you, your life starts to change. Hi, friends. Welcome back to Call Cut with Angelique. I'm Angelique, and today we are going to talk about gratitude. With Thanksgiving having recently passed and many of us being thankful for things that happened to us in the year preceding, it's good to talk about gratitude and to shed light on a common misconception because there are so many different ideas surrounding gratitude and how gratitude is implemented and how people use it. Because just as gratitude is something that leads you to this higher state of abundance, it is often used as a manipulation tactic and it can be used to take people down instead of lift them up. So, today we're going to go deep into gratitude and what that intention is, what it feels like, what it doesn't feel like, and how you can align with it to align with your highest and best self. So, let's get right into it. What is gratitude? Gratitude is thankfulness and appreciation, etc. But when we really break it down, it is an energetic frequency. If you think about somebody who is an ingrate, somebody who doesn't hold gratitude, they vibrate at a very, very low rate. Someone who is appreciative tends to be in a higher vibrational frequency. And the reason that is because gratitude is actually attached to joy. And it can be expressed in two different ways. If you've ever seen somebody really, really feel on a deep, deep level gratitude, two things can happen. One, they can be elated. So, if you've ever seen a little child, for example, children get so excited if something wonderful happens to them and they're, thank you, and they squeal and they shriek. And then the other one is weeping, just being brought to tears. And you can feel this energy on such a deep level. When somebody holds a deep sense of gratitude, man, can you feel it? I was watching this video on TikTok and these kids out there are doing these wonderful things where they are targeting certain people on the street who are homeless and giving them money and then raising money through crowdfunding and getting them homes and you name it. And the one gentleman that I was watching, his name was Zach, and he was working with this gentleman, Greg. And they got Greg a home and Greg was homeless. And the sound that came out of this man when he started to cry, it was so deep, so primordial, so innate that I just started to cry. And after reading the comments, you hear everybody just burst into tears, especially this guy is just hands on face, crying hysterically. That is gratitude. Gratitude is a really, really intense emotion. And when we hold it for something, we can hold it in a range of different ways, but it is really profound and deeply felt. So, why do we want to attach to this emotion? Because on the same spectrum of gratitude is joy. And joy is this higher vibrational energy that actually lifts us up out of sadness, out of depression, out of fear. And this is a really great tool because when we look at life through the eyes of gratitude, we can instantly raise our vibration. But before we get into that part, we have to look at some of the ways gratitude is manipulated because we do live in this third dimensional reality where it's an inverted reality where there's reversals and all sorts of crazy hysterics going on. And we have to look at everything through duality and the polarity spectrum. So while it is a wonderful thing to hold gratitude, we have to understand what gratitude isn't. There is a toxic side to gratitude as well. And you will find the toxic side of gratitude in the you should be grateful. There are others that have it worse than you. What are you complaining about? Don't have big dreams. Look around you and make sure that you're grateful for everything that you've got. Now, I don't care who you are. At some point in your life, you have heard something to that effect. And I'm here to say that two things can be true. One, should we hold gratitude for the little things that we have? Absolutely. Gratitude is a practice. The more you practice having it for different things, the more you build up that energy. Remember, we are energetic machines. The more you pour intention into something, the more you create that power to elevate, right? Imagine if you were in this little Merkaba and you had to power this thing and really get it to go. You would have consistently been pouring energy into this machine to get it going. You need to pour energy into this energetic machine because you can't see the energy body, but I assure you it is there. And that is the only way that you could start to lift it out of the doldrums, out of the age of ignorance, and up to the age of enlightenment, where you have a more higher perspective and vibration. And so gratitude does help you get there. So, two things can be true. Yes, you should, in theory, be grateful for everything around you. But that doesn't mean that you can't want more or strive for more or go out in the world and say, yeah, you know what? I am so grateful that I just got this job, especially in this kind of economy when people are out of work. I am so grateful that I've got this. But I still have my heart set on this and I'm still going to go for it. That is where gratitude, we start to have the shades of gray with gratitude. The amazing thing about feelings is we are not bound to one emotion. Part of self mastery is understanding that we have multiple emotions, many, many, many different emotions. And we have to observe those emotions. And gratitude is no different. That feeling of gratitude is something to be observed. You know how you feel when something truly touches you and you are so grateful. You know that feeling. You've had it. We've all had it. The idea that we should hold gratitude comes from ancient mysticism, and it's in Buddhism, it's in the Bhagavad Gita. The Egyptians talk about it, the Sumerians talk about it. Gratitude actually aligns you with the cosmos, it puts you into cosmic order. That being said, when you are in alignment with the cosmos, everything opens up. It starts to place you in abundance mentality. Okay. Now, I just got finished going over the two sides of gratitude when you really feel gratitude and when you have gratitude attached to a manipulation, and that you can still hold gratitude for the little things, but not be manipulated by people who are trying to hold you down using gratitude as a trap. So, this is part of the discernment game, and I talk about this a lot in my podcast. Discerning how to navigate these energies, understanding that two things can always be true. You can hold gratitude, but you can sense that something is deceptive or manipulative, and you can move out of that space. You can know that, yes, I am grateful for having a job, but I am going to be actively pursuing something else because this is not in alignment with my higher good. All of these can be true. When you master navigating these seas, you become the master alchemist. That is when you can take all of these energies and you can transform them for your benefit. So they're not working against you, but they're working for you. The person who comes to you and says, you should be grateful, that's a reminder. You know what? You're right. I should be grateful. And I go home and I find something to be grateful about. I remember that gratitude is absolutely going to anchor me into my cosmic order. It is going to anchor me into my highest self. However, I'm not going to allow that manipulation to take me down. Because if I allow the manipulation to keep me trapped, then I am no longer sitting in a place of gratitude. Now I am in a place of resentment. There's a couple of other things we have to take into consideration when we're dealing with gratitude, because there are people who truly feel that it is never enough. It doesn't matter what is given to them. It doesn't matter how much they have or if they've reached the highest highs. They always feel like it is never enough. And that comes from comparison and competition. It also comes from a poverty consciousness, but I will get to how that all works together. But let's start with comparison and competition. If you grow up in a family that is very competitive or a family that is always pushing you down, one upping each other. Oh, your child is going to go to this school. Well, my child's going to Harvard. Well, my child is this and my child is that. Or, oh, so and so is very good at sports, but so and so isn't. And oh, I have the bigger house. I have the more expensive car. My husband does this. My wife does that. You get the idea. When you grow up in these environments, comparison, competition, the feeling inside is that you can never compete. You are always in a race to acquire more, to be better than, to be higher than, to be more important than. And you continually do this. And it doesn't matter that you've left your family, you've left your home. You may not even speak to those relatives anymore, but the pattern is still there because you haven't actually called cut on the comparison competition. And so in you go. And no matter what life gives you, it's very hard to be grateful, right? On one end, entitlement is attached to that, right? I deserve this. And again, all of these emotions are attached to its opposite. And I say this all the time, the inability to be thankful, truly thankful, and to feel like you always have to one up somebody or have more than someone else or be more than someone else comes from a poverty consciousness. It comes from a soul that is deeply lacking. And wherever our consciousness is focused, we are going to create that reality. Sure, we may be surrounded by a lot of things, right? A lot of material things, but it doesn't fill the void. Sincere gratitude changes all of that. In Buddhism, one of the first things that we focus on is detachment from material things. The reason we detach from the material is so we don't get trapped in that illusion that creates competition, that creates desire, that creates need, lack, want, etc. When you detach and you stay fully present, that is when you can truly connect and look around you and be grateful for the air you breathe, the ground you're standing on, the skin you're in. How many people are grateful for their bodies? I hear people all day long. Oh, God, I wish I could move this. And by the way, I'm guilty of this. So, no judgment. But it is something that I take myself and I wrangle myself and I'm like, hey, girl, come on. The more you don't appreciate it, the more it slips away. The more we take things for granted, the more they slip away. And this is in all facets of our life. Gratitude anchors us into that divine compensation. It anchors us into abundance. It creates more abundance, but it can't be faked, right? We can't say, oh gosh, look around. I'm so grateful for everything I have. But deep inside, we're dealing with comparison, competition, envy, and entitlement. Those negative energies counter any speech that you may be performing for the universe, right? Because the universe doesn't care what you say. It cares about the intention, the energy behind your words. I did an entire podcast on the power of words. And if you haven't seen it, I suggest you go take a look and click and subscribe because I go over this quite a bit on how our intentions behind our words, the energy, the power that we put behind those words, create a reality. My late friend Ruth Herculani used to say, happiness stalks those with an outrageous sense of gratitude. And that is true because when you can look at something even tiny and say, oh my God, wow, look at this. I can't believe I have this. A book that you always wanted, connecting with a friend that you haven't seen in forever. Let's be honest, these days, connecting face to face is like a whole other world. It's like going off planet. So when we get these moments and suddenly you look around and you say, wow, I am so grateful for this. I'll give you a story from my own experience. I've been on LinkedIn for about 16, 17 years, but I haven't actively utilized it until last year. And in this year and a half that I've been on there really sharing content with all of you amazing people, I met so many incredible people that show up all the time. They read my work. They send me messages about the work. They watch the podcast. And you see this feeling that you get right now, those of you that can't see me, I am getting a little bit emotional. I'm also sick and have a cold, so I sound a little strange to begin with, but I assure you my eyes are watering. This feeling of gratitude, I would have never met these wonderful people. I would have never had the experiences that I had unless I went on that platform and showed up in a certain way. So, gratitude can be found everywhere. There is always something to be grateful for. You're breathing, you're not sick, you're getting up every morning, you're able to walk. All of that aside, it doesn't mean that you can't want more for your life. It doesn't mean that you should stop shining, that you should stop reaching for the stars. No, go all in on you. Absolutely go in on you. But along the way, if you can practice, if you can learn how to stop and observe and do this active gratitude where you are actively finding things in your life to be grateful for, you elevate that energy. You pull yourself up out of comparison. You pull yourself up out of competition. You pull yourself up away from all of the rat races that you've been involved in from the time you were a child, and you start to put yourself along a different path. And again, as you build up that energy, and energy moves in a spiral, as you build up that energy, you start to become more powerful, and you rise higher and higher and higher. That is the goal with gratitude. It's not about sitting around and just performing the idea of we should be grateful. It's about feeling it, practicing it, living it. Whatever you put in to your gratitude practice is what you're going to get out. You're going to start to notice a lot of things changing. When you become inherently grateful for every moment and everything, no matter how big or small, because of your own accord, not because someone told you you should, or used gratitude as a manipulation tactic to keep you trapped, or to keep you small, or to keep you away from a bigger life that you are aiming to align with, but simply because you yourself have made that choice and intention to go all in on your gratitude practice, you are going to see the whole world will change. People will look at you differently. You will find moments of sincere interaction with other human beings that you never thought possible. You will see moments of graciousness, moments of giving and receiving that feel authentic and aligned and intentional, not transactional. You will start to see magic occur from every corner, everywhere. And nobody could tell you what that looks like. My gratitude is trees. I have this relationship with a few of the trees in my backyard. And I have sat there under these trees and wept. I have hugged them. I have wept. I have connected to them. There's a couple of little rabbits that live in my backyard, and they will come right up and hang out and just eat their little food right next to me. I always find myself in this state of, wow, I cannot believe how awesome this is. This is the greatest thing that these animals are coming over here, that I have these big, beautiful trees that I can just chill and decompress under. And for me, that was what really got me into my gratitude practice, is to stop looking at life as what is the next thing I have to achieve? Where is the next place I have to go? What is the next thing I have to get? I have to get bigger and better. And I will tell you this, friends, and I've said this 1,000 times, whatever you push against an equal and opposite force pushes against it. In my experience, I had so many times where I was pushing for more, 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 and I was getting it, I was getting it, I was getting it, and then boom, it imploded on itself. It imploded on itself. And I could tell you, because I didn't appreciate any of it. Okay. I can tell you right now, when you don't truly appreciate all the beauty that you have in your life, it disappears. Okay. It disappears because you're not in alignment with those gifts. And everything in life is a gift. There's a woman I am connected to on LinkedIn, Kimberly Richardson, and one of her taglines is, life is a gift. open it. And that is a wonderful and brilliant tagline that she has, on all of her posts and I'm sure in her upcoming book. And that is to show you that life is a gift and that every single thing that is presented to us, we have the opportunity to look at in that way and to be grateful for that gift, no matter how big or small it is. So, how do we align with gratitude? What if we are somebody who says, I have been so steeped in competition and I really have a hard time appreciating things? And friends, this takes radical honesty. So many people are caught up in presentation and appearance and status and public persona. And that's great. And I understand that. We live in a world of illusion. And a lot of the time, in order to keep up with the illusion, we have to be some phony baloney. But I tell you, don't be a phony baloney. If you really want to heal, if you really want to find that spark of you that is genuine, that is real, you have got to sit with it and be honest with yourself. So you have to be honest with yourself as to whether or not you do sit in competition, envy, jealousy, entitlement, and comparison. Because if you sit in those energies, gratitude is going to be tough. And so here is a practice that can help you, whether you sit in those energies or you don't. If you already have your own gratitude practice, amazing. Drop it in the comments below. Share your gratitude practice with us. We would love to hear it. If you don't, I'm going to give you one that you can try. Okay. This is a very, very easy one, and you could do it anywhere. Sit quietly with yourself. And the first thing you ask is, what is something that I already have that I've achieved or I've gotten or I feel or I've overcome. And this can be anything. And man, I'll tell you, this really, really works because even if you go to the dark side, which I tend to go to the shadow all the time, I love working in the shadow. The shadow's my favorite thing. I'm not afraid of the dark. And I feel like when you're not afraid of the dark, you start to learn that the dark is actually where you regenerate, right? So, all of these practices, whether it's gratitude, appreciation, joy, they are born in the dark. Because when we sit in the shadow and we start to really look at the shadow and play with the shadow, and we no longer fear the shadow, that's when we can open our eyes to something much greater and much, much bigger. So, the first thing you want to do is be radically honest with yourself. Sit there and ask, what is something that feels whole to me? What is something that I can be truly happy about or I'm proud of or something that I never thought would happen? I wrote this in my post. We get so hung up on resolutions because we're always living in the future. We fail to look at all the beautiful things that happened the year prior. Now, I'm not going to say that holy high hell doesn't happen. I can tell you that 2025 for me was a complete shit show. But I happen to like shit shows, that I feel like that's an invitation to the dance, right? Like the universe is kind of like, come on, kid, what do you got? And if you start to look at the universe as like you guys are going back and forth in this test of wills, you will see things very differently. Before my late friend Louisa passed, one of the things she said to me was, Angelique, stop taking life so goddamn seriously. It is a fucking illusion. Live, love, and laugh. Even when it's the worst possible thing you could imagine, laugh. Find the joy, find the gratitude, find the appreciation. And the more you do it, the more you go all in on elevating your frequency simply by finding the things in your life that mean something positive to you, your life starts to change. Your energy calms down. Even your anxiety lessens. Because when you're not in the rat race and you're not rushing to the next thing and competing with everybody and feeling like a failure because they are all seemingly up here and you're down there, suddenly you could just live. I could just live my life. I don't have to do anything but just be me. And being you is the hardest thing to do. So remember that when you have those moments where you're looking at everyone else and you're asking yourself, why not me? Find the place to be thankful. Find the appreciation for the body that's keeping you going, for the mind that's finding solutions to problems nobody else is, for the heart that is still beating with kindness no matter how many times you've been kicked down, for the resilience that you have, for the strength, for the fortitude. These are all things that you need to be so grateful for because you are a beautiful, powerful being. You are somebody who has full control of your emotions, full control of how you think, as long as you are willing to sit down and take the reins on your own life experience. I hope all of you had a fabulous Thanksgiving filled with love, with gratitude, with appreciation, with really good food and really good people. Thank you so much for joining me on Call Cut with Angelique. I sincerely appreciate every single one of you. Keep shining. Thank you so much for joining me on Call Cut with Angelique. New episodes drop every Friday. If you like this content, please subscribe, like, share with your friends. And remember, folks, no matter what life gives you, you must always keep shining.